Hello, I'm Matt Lampert, the Director of Research at the Socionomix Institute, and welcome back to this series where we're talking all about socionomics. In this segment, we really want to get into how you can make that move from thinking socionomically to acting socionomically. In other words, how can you use socionomics to make decisions? Well, one area that's been hot recently is in the area of studying social mood on internet data feeds from social media. And one of the studies that really kicked this off was from back in 2008, where some researchers at Indiana University were studying tweets, the kinds of things that people wrote about on Twitter. And they used a computer program to look at the sentiment that people were expressing in their tweets. And they were able to plot the sentiment on 7 different dimensions in real time. And they submitted this research to an academic journal, and the journal said, okay, this is interesting, but so what? What can you do with it? This is 2008, 2009, the financial crisis is going on, so they said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll look at the stock market, and we'll show that after the stock market goes up, then people will become happier and more optimistic, and after the stock market goes down, then they thought they would show that people would then become more pessimistic and depressed. So they're coming at this from the conventional point of view. Well, they plotted the data, and what they found was that indeed there was a relationship between the market and the mood, but the chronology of that relationship was the reverse of what they expected. Consistent with socionomic theory, it wasn't the case that the market changed first and that impacted the mood. It was rather that the mood change came first, and you could use that change in mood to forecast a change in the market. So now they had a pretty cool answer to their so what question. They published their paper, and the media got hold of it, and it just touched off a deluge of research on the relationship between social media sentiment and the stock market. And today, companies like Thomson Reuters broadcast a social media sentiment data feed to traders all over the world who use it to move money in and out of the market every day. And it's not just traders. Companies are realizing that they can use information about mood to tailor their messages and even their products to their customers. One of the earliest adopters was Jell-O. They began tracking mood on Twitter, and they realized there was a connection between negative mood and a craving for Jell-O pudding. And so what they did was they simply tracked the number of happy faces on Twitter and the number of sad faces on Twitter, and whenever the number of sad faces outnumbered the happy ones, they would reach out to some of their own Twitter followers whose tweets indicated they were in a negative mood, and they'd give them special offers for Jell-O pudding. And they turned this into a whole campaign. They put up a animatronic billboard in New York where the face would go from a smile to a frown based on the real-time number of frowns and smiles that were on Twitter. And this may sound kind of frivolous, but it's actually indicative of something that's important, and that is a company that's realized there's a relationship between mood and consumer preferences for their product, and then they've diagnosed in real time when that mood is in their favor, and then they've reached out with a strategic message at a moment of heightened demand. So let's see if we can use this ourselves. So let's do a thought experiment. Let's imagine that we are a public relations firm, an advertising agency, and a car company has asked us to design an ad campaign for an automobile that they plan to release. Now, the car's already been designed, that work is done, we just need to decide how to promote it. And one of the decisions we must make is what color car are we going to feature in this ad? Well, my colleague Mark Galashevsky at the Socionomics Institute back in 2008 did some research on the relationship between social mood and car color preferences. And what he found was that when mood was trending negatively, there was a heightened preference for earth tone colored cars, green, brown, beige, tan. So let's say we're designing this ad campaign and we've diagnosed that mood's trending negatively, say, well, we might want to put a green car on the billboard, maybe make sure we've got some brown ones in the showrooms at the dealership, and put a beige one on the company website. Now, what's interesting, especially about the internet, is that Well, if you have a billboard, once it's up, it's pretty much up. It's there. You can't do a whole lot. But on the internet, you can change things dynamically. So let's say mood starts trending positively. Well, we could have an algorithm on the website that diagnoses that in real time and automatically presents a different color card that's more likely to resonate with that social mood environment. And you can use socionomics for all kinds of stuff. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Social mood touches every corner of the globe and every moment in history, from the distant past to the present to the future. Look at something like epidemic disease. There's research that's been done recently in the area of social psychology and neuroscience that's shown that folks with a pessimistic outlook, a pessimistic psychology, are more susceptible. They tend to have a weaker immune system, whereas folks who are optimists have a more positive psychology, tend to have a more resilient immune system. Well, is that also true at the social level? When society is feeling more negative, are we more susceptible to epidemic disease? Well, this is something that my colleague Alan Hall has looked at, and he found that the major epidemics, the ones that make headlines in history books, tend to erupt toward the end of negative mood trends. And this is true not only of major epidemics in the past, it's also true of ones that have made headlines more recently. For example, this is the Ebola outbreak. Here we've got a stock index from Western Africa, an indicator of social mood there. We have an 8-year trend toward negative social mood, and then we get the Ebola outbreak. Here's another recent example. This is the Zika epidemic, which started in Brazil and then spread. Same story. After a trend toward negative mood, that's when this epidemic broke out. So social mood influences our susceptibility to epidemic disease. It influences the leaders we elect, trends in the financial markets and the economy. It can inspire developers to reach for the sky with huge building projects. It infuses trends in pop culture, entertainment, fashion, education, peace and war, and on and on. And these are trends that we cover in the Socionomist, the monthly publication of the Socionomics Institute. It's a tool to help you understand the past, understand the present, and even anticipate the future by zeroing in on the ubiquitous influence of social mood on social behavior. Thank you so much for your attention. We hope you'll check it out and continue to enjoy the perks of being a socionomist. Thank you.